In this video, we're going to be talking about the landmarks of our femur. Remember, the femur is the sole bone in the thigh, and it's the longest and strongest bone in the human body. We're going to start by looking at the features that can be found up at the proximal end. That's the hip end of the femur. When I look at the hip end of the femur, I can see this large, kind of globe-shaped head region. This is going to articulate with the acetabulum of the hip to form the hip joint. Just past the head, I have a narrowed region which is called the neck. The neck of the femur is a very common site for fractures, particularly in elderly people with osteoporosis. Even though the fracture is on the femur, because it's happening at the hip joint, we often refer to femoral neck fractures as a type of hip fracture. To see our other features, we're actually going to flip around and look at the back side of the bone. So we're going to look at the posterior side of the femur here. We can see our head and neck. And now we have these two very large bumps. This larger, more laterally located bump is called the greater trochanter. The smaller bump here is the lesser trochanter. Trochanter comes from a Greek word, trachein, which means to run, because a lot of the muscles that allow our legs to do this attach to either the greater or lesser trochanter. Now, if you're like me, you're probably thinking, Dr. P, what's up with all of these T words? Tuberosities, tubercles, trochanters. The way I remember this is I simply think of the word attachment. Attachment has 3 T's in it, and those 3 T's stand for tuberosities, tubercles, trochanters, because all 3 of those structures are for muscle and ligament attachments. Just below our lesser trochanter, we have a roughened area called the gluteal tuberosity. Tuber means swelling, osity means many, so many small swellings. This is going to be where the gluteus maximus muscle attaches. Now, running down from the gluteal tuberosity, you can see there is this line of bone running down the back of the femur. Now, this rough line of bone is called the linea aspera. Linea means line, aspera means rough. So it's literally the rough line. As we get to the distal end of the femur, we can see 2 very large, smooth knobs. These are the condyles, the medial and lateral condyle. Now, how do I know this is the medial side? Well, all I simply do is I look at the side that the head is pointing. The head points in. That means this side must be the medial side because it's on the same side as the head. So the medial condyle and lateral condyle. Now, above the condyles, we have these rough areas. These are the medial and lateral epicondyles. Remember, epi means above, so it sits above the condyle.